Let me know when we're live. Oh, fantastic. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Illinois High School Esports Association. My name is Andy Mendez, and joining me here today are some very special guests. I have Dylan, MLBD, and, of course, our venerable Coach Nyberger. How are you two doing today?
It's a pretty long word. I don't know how I'm doing after that.
No. Yeah, it's, you know what? Listen, I'm just very excited for some League of Legends action. Today we have Springfield Public Schools versus Lakes Community High School. This is a kickoff game for the IHSEA. You know, it's also World's Day.
Oh, it's such an exciting day. Just packed with League of Legends. Honestly, it's hard to tell which match is going to be more exciting. You know, this IHSEA match or World's Finals later today. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's going to be really close.
I'm not sure, but I think Springfield versus Lakes gives T1 versus DRX a run for their money. As we say that, though, you know, we want to kind of highlight here. Springfield is going to be on our left on the blue side, and Lakes is going to be on the right side. Gentlemen, go ahead and talk me through this draft here.
The biggest thing that I'm seeing in the bans from Springfield is they very clearly did their homework. Unfortunately, Lakes has a few players whose champion pools are very small, namely their jungler who plays just about only Vi. Note that Vi is in the ban list, and so Lake's jungler has been forced onto something that perhaps they're not super comfortable on. And I'm seeing a lot of just comfort coming from Springfield's side, as the same with Lakes.
Yeah, that's normally what you expect at this level of competition, right? A heavy reliance on comfort, players just playing what they themselves feel very confident in piloting compared to, you know, what might be best for the team comp and things like that. So, I mean, we see so far, you know, Vladimir, Lilia, Seraphine picked up for the side of Lakes. Those are champions that they do have a bit of games on. So it makes sense that when you're kind of the underdog in the matchup that you want to try and rely on things that you do have a little bit of background in. But like you were saying, some very good targeted bans from Springfield. That's going to make it already tough from the get-go.
And one thing to mention is in pinching these champion pools from Springfield onto Lake, you're seeing a lot of ability power. Vladimir, Lilia, and Seraphine are only magic damage champions, and I believe Springfield was smart in picking up the Galio because that is the anti-magic damage champion. If Lakes doesn't pick anything with a strong attack damage presence, it's going to be a rough game. The strong attack damage the bans are finished. They banned out 2 high attack damage carries from Springfield's side, and so now Lakes is forced to pick their 80 carry champion, another AP champion.
Oh wow. Yeah, this is shaping up to be quite a tough draft to actually play out because, like you said, Galio is an amazing pick into this magic damage. So is Ornn, right? Like, these are 2 champions that can very easily handle the team composition that Lakes has drafted themselves so far. Not necessarily in love with the Samira Hover, but I think Kai'Sa fits their composition a little bit better.
It's a front-to-back team fight, and there's no way to get to that Kai'Sa if you only got magic damage.
Exactly. It's definitely going to be tough, and looking just at the champions that Lakes themselves have drafted, I'm curious to see kind of where they're going to end up because
this could be a Seraphine support and an 80 carry pick here, but considering what's being picked so far, oh my lord.
Oh boy.
You know,
we're in for a treat game 1.
We're in for I don't know if I call this a treat. I'd think this would be more of a if the Galio gets, I don't know, 10 gold at any point in the game, he's going to take over. I'm not sure what the decision making was from the side of Lakes, if it is just supreme comfort, we can't play anything else, or if the bans were very well targeted from Lakes' side, or a combination of the two. But I think this is a game that may or may not have just been won in draft.
Yeah, we're going to have to see when we get into the game itself, but it's definitely not looking easy for Lakes. However, I will say that there's always a chance. Even if the chance is very, very small, there's always a little bit of a chance. I'm just curious where the heck these champions are going to go, right? Are we going to see like Vlad top, like Vex mid, Lillian, and Seraphine Sona bot?
I'm thinking it might just be the order they're in now.
It might be.
It might be the Vladimir top into the Ornn, which is a pretty favorable matchup for that Vladimir until about 8 minutes.
Yeah, as we get through the spectator delay, I just have to say, I mean, the Galio pick in itself is just going to be absolutely crucial for Springfield to deal with all 5 of their AP threats.
All 5. Oh, Lord. It's going to be Springfield very clearly knows exactly what their comp's goal is, where I suppose I can't really say the same for Lakes. Maybe some sort of crazy wombo comp, but good luck landing a full wombo combo onto a Galio and an Ornn.
I mean, I think it's definitely possible, right?
Oh, it's definitely possible.
As we mentioned.
But I think the main thing that I'm seeing is just a lack of damage output. Again, Vex in particular is known for her burst damage, as well as Seraphine on top of that. But it's the Ornn and the Galio are going to make that burst so much harder if they can't make a pick onto. I mean, it's got to be a pick onto Kai'Sa or Graves. There's no way to lock down the Rakan from the side of Lakes.
Yeah.
There's no way to get onto the Kai'Sa at all from the side of Lakes. You have to catch the Graves somewhere with good vision control, and that's the only way you can really get ahead in this game at all.
Yeah,
I would have to agree. Go ahead, Dylan.
Honestly, if Springfield can find Mercury treads in the shop, I think it might be a wrap. If they can,
if you can find it.
Yeah, if they can find Mercury treads and then maybe Hex Drinker on Graves or Kai'Sa, then it's shaping up to be
I
bit of a one-sided affair.
Like every single person on Springfield could take a detour, spend 450 gold to get a no magic mantle, and suddenly the game's going to get a good 20% easier at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it is important to note that this is week 1 of the regular season, and there is a lot of time to kind of figure out what the identity of your team is, and there's
Absolutely.
a very possibility that Lakes hasn't had the opportunity to practice together, to play together very much. And just having this stage time of figuring out what picks do and don't work for you, you would hope that if they do end up really getting slaughtered this game, like I think a lot of us might expect, that they are able to kind of learn their lessons from that. And then maybe if they're not able to bounce back in game 2, then we look towards next week. But that's the kind of growing pains that a new team sometimes has to go through. And hopefully we can see them, assuming that this game goes the way we think it will, make an adaptation in game 2.
One can only hope. Looks like we're about to get in. 5 more seconds on that delay. We get into the loading screen, and we finally get to see some League of Legends.
Here we go. Very excited.
Very excited. I think this laning phase is going to determine the entirety of this game. If those first 10 minutes don't go well for Lake, there is no stopping that Galio Ornn snowball. There is no getting past the Kai'Sa Rakan. There is no hope beyond the full magic resist builds that I'm sure both of these hyper tanks are going to be taking. It has to be a very, very strong beginning of the game.
So just a quick note for Lakes based off of the background research that we were doing. It seems like the only player on their team that's ranked is Prominence in the top lane. But it also looks like their mid laner, Violet? Vixlet? I'm not quite sure how you pronounce that name. I don't know if it's a...
Violet sounds good to me.
I don't know if it's a play on Violet with how they spell it. But anyways, those are the 2 players who I'm looking at to kind of be the guiding force in this game, because Violet is level 150, which shows that you have a pretty solid amount of experience playing. And then Prominence is the only ranked member on the team. So if these 2 can try and get something together with the rest of their teammates, then I could see something being possible for this early game.
These players are on comfort picks, not their preferred comfort picks. All of their actual comfort picks were banned away from them. For instance, Violet does play Ahri and Lux, and both of those champions were banned away. And so forced upon the Seraphine. Seraphine's got a pretty similar playstyle to Lux. Not as much to Ahri, but similar enough such that the comfort can certainly still be there. And the Vladimir Prominence does have a game or 2 on. Again, his comfort picks were taken away. He's comfortable on Teemo. He's comfortable on Urgot. Both of those not available. And so this will come down to the piloting of these champions who perhaps are not the most comfortable for these players.
Yeah, and like you were saying, already just the beginning of the game is going to be so important to deciding with the outcome. And look at what Graves is doing right now. He's starting the enemy Raptors, and he's going to go steal the red buff right after this. I mean, this is one way to guarantee...
This is the I'm better than you as a jungler special.
Yes. And he is definitely making sure that Lily is going to pay for it. And the thing is, having play jungle competitively myself. It's very hard to bounce back from this when you don't know what to do. Right. And I'm worried that Fembun being level 15 and not being comfortable on Lilia is going to walk into their top side, see all of their camps gone, and not really know how to respond.
Right.
But we're gonna have to see.
With these players with the low summoner levels not having as much experience as some of those who might have a higher summoner level, I recognize that just about every single player on Springfield's side does have a higher summoner level than that of Lakes. It's difficult to surmount that kind of a mountain. And we're going to see exactly what you're describing happen. You can see on the map Fembun walking up into the topside jungle. There are Krugs are up there, and that's a bit of a detour. We now see Fembun look at her Raptor camp, find that it's empty. Okay, maybe we'll go check red buff, and it's empty.
Oh no!
Does she elect to go for the Krugs for the gold?
No!
It's looking a little
okay.
shaky. There's nothing left to take on the bot side of the map. Yeah. It has to be that Scuttle Crab if you want any kind of experience. But this is put Farai into a very spectacular position unless he elects not to take his own red buff, which this could pay off for Fembun. But it's also a very risky thing to do, not knowing where Farai is.
Yeah, so
the Scuttlebug on both sides.
Farai popped the Scryer's Bloom on the top side. So if Fembun or somebody else was paying attention to that, they would have seen that and gotten that information that he was on the top side. But it kind of looks like, based off the fact that Fembun is going for the Scuttle Crab and not Raptors or Red Buff, that information was not communicated and was not recognized. So Farai actually, like you were saying, not optimal to go towards Scuttle Crab instead of your own bot side. You really want to cut off as many camps as you can from the Lilia, but kind of gets away with it. And now we see Lilia head towards the bot side, make sure that the Vex and Sonar are safe. But I mean, it's really hard to know what to do here because your camps are down, you're not in the right spot to take them, so Fembun kind of just wasting a little bit of time.
A little bit of trading back and forth here in the top lane. You know, Ornn and Vladimir just kind of smacking each other. That's what they can do.
Love that kind of matchup.
Is we spoke upon how this early game has to go well, particularly for Lake's top and mid lane, Prominence and Violet. And if you look at the score lines, the CS score is not indicating a comfort. The Vladimir into Ornn matchup, you should not be down to the Ornn, and it's happening.
Hey, I'm right here.
The Seraphine into the Gallia, these are ranged into melee tank matchups. You should not be down CS, and although it's marginal in the mid lane, it's just about even. The top lane is a very substantial issue, and you'll notice that Toodle went ahead and took the detour, spent 450 gold, and bought himself an item that makes this lane 20% easier for him at 5 minutes.
A genius. Just a genius. I'm waiting for him to find the...
Oh, a little bit of an engage here in the mid lane. Might see a solo kill the first game. No!
Ooh, gosh, that was so close. Failure Man almost pulling out the solo kill there. And what's tough for Violet here is that you don't have teleport, right? So you have to base. You're going to miss this wave. You're also going to miss the next wave because Galio can shove it fast enough. And then it just puts you into a tough spot, right? The CS that looks even right now is actually going to end up being a bit of a deficit. But I will say that Violet and Prominence, the most important thing to do when you feel like the opponent has an advantage over you is to just kind of stay stable and not die. So if you can actually hold on in lane and have pretty even CS, then things are looking okay. Obviously not the greatest, but it's something that you can build off of not only in this game, but in future games if you can just have kind of stable, solid laning phases.
I would agree. Again, it's looking to be a difference in comfort again. I'm seeing some pretty substantial macro understanding from the side of Springfield, being able to push in both mid and bot lanes, so the Drake is no longer contested at all. Fembun is nowhere near to be able to contest that, neither are the laners, and the laners aren't really strong enough to contest that kind of thing. Although nobody on Springfield's bot side of the map has gone back, their jungler has, and the jungler's got a serrated Dirk. That is a strong, strong Graves. You encounter that Graves as a AP carry, which happens to be everybody on Lakes. It's going to be a very difficult interaction to have, and what I'm seeing now is Farai toying with the idea of taking a 4th buff for himself
Oh man.
This is rough. This is a knowledge of the jungle much higher than that of poor Fembuns. And this comes with game experience. There's no easy fix for something like this. There it is, the blue taken away by Forai. Forai now walking over to his own blue, perhaps after Raptors. Just adding insult to injury. Fembun looking at her red buff. Recalls right in front of it. Could have probably taken that, but perhaps wanted the extra health and the mana and some gold to spend. Now with that lost chapter, making it a little easier to clear those camps without being hurt too much.
If I may say, I'm rather surprised that we haven't had any eliminations, any kills this game yet.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
This is very much a controlled game from both sides. I think just farming up, doing what they can to take the small objectives, little minions,
And I agree. This is a very slow game, and unfortunately for Lakes, that is exactly to their detriment. Lakes, I mentioned before that Lakes needs to get ahead by 10 minutes, or else just the strict farm lead and the ability to buy items is going to make Springfield an unstoppable death ball for the entirety of this game.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like the second that this gets to a large team fight, it's almost impossible to win. For the side of Lakes, you really would need to almost have a miracle happen. You would need to find a pick onto somebody, and even then, a 4v5 would be tough.
And that pick in particular, again, it has to be... You can't pick a Galio with this team. Mm-hmm. It's difficult to pick an Ornn with this team. It's almost impossible to pick a Rakan with this team, because looking at the side of Lakes, who's got crowd control?
Yeah, very good point.
There's this... I mentioned before that this may have been a game that was won in draft, and I think my statement still stands.
Oh, as we see
finally in. Oh no!
Yeah, not quite gonna make it.
Oh, Sona has ult. Maybe.
Oh!
Oh no!
Goes slightly wide there for Sona.
Cut the camera.
Cut the camera. Cut the camera.
Let's go towards mid. There we go.
Unplug the router.
Oh wait, but Lilia's bot, Fembon bot with ultimate, can maybe find a sleep potentially. No. Oh, that was close. I thought we were gonna get some action there, Andy, for you.
No, yeah, I was close. I was ready.
Yeah. Oh, I think we get a kill here mid.
Yeah, we might be looking at something here mid. Morel, Failure Man is gonna flash, gonna land the taunt to the turret. Turret's gonna go. Oh, and the flash ultimate is not gonna land. It just goes slightly wide.
The trade.
1 for 1. Yeah, 1 for 1 in the mid lane. Excellent work from both sides. I mean, impressed with Seraphine there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I felt like Violet was greeting a little bit by not just flashing the Galio taunt and getting out of there, but, whether it was a little bit of fool's luck or just knowledge, they knew that they could get the revenge kill, and if their ultimate actually hit Graves as well, charming him into tower could have been great, but maybe a kill here.
Oh no, Fembun is going to be in a little bit of trouble as Forai is quite ahead, as we've mentioned. Dark Harvest Proc is going to go. The flash under turret is going to keep her safe.
One thing to keep in mind with Lilia as a champion is that she gains movement speed when she lands abilities. One thing that I noticed in that encounter is that Fembun did not make the effort to use any abilities to get herself the move speed to escape the Graves. She wasn't going to die regardless. The Graves used ulti beforehand, but he did have flash. Perhaps the flash was a good decision to simply avoid death, but I feel as though using abilities during that kind of an engage can really change the tides there, and perhaps it was nerves.
Yeah. I think it comes down largely to just inexperience and nerves, right? There's a very real possibility that if this player is either new to League of Legends, or if maybe the program is new to their school, or just something like that, like the League of Legends program, like this could be maybe their first time playing an official stage game. So the fact that your main was banned out and you're playing against a jungler who invaded you, like kind of all of that could be building up and, making them a little bit nervous to kind of go for some counter plays. But I agree with you. I think there have been multiple opportunities where Lakes has had the potential to look for aggressive plays, and they're not opting into them. And not opting into them is actually harming them more than it's helping them.
Right. Oh. I entirely agree. One thing that I do want to mention that I noticed...
Lilia might be in some trouble here, though. Hold on. Forai is going to be engaging onto Fembun. Let's see if the Seraphine can protect her. It may not be the case. There's a little bit of a healing going to go down, and Graves is going to go ahead and take that kill for himself. That's going to be a 2-for-1 lead on the side of Springfield.
And 2-for-1 lead, but one thing that I'll note is that 2 kills do not equate to approximately 4,000 gold, which is the current lead. That lead is entirely composed of farm.
Oh, here's going to be an engage down at the bot lane. The flash is going to be used from Vex. Ultimate's going to be used from Galio and from Kaisa as well. Not going to quite find the target. The heal is going to be saving him just enough. The Sona ult's going to be used. It's not going to be enough. Clint's going to be down as well. 1 tower taken. 2 tower shots taken. And Vex is going to go down to Kaisa. That is another kill for the side of Springfield.
Springfield really coming to life here in these past couple of minutes. They've really ramped up the aggressive plays, and that should be another one. Oh, it's so close.
Just not enough. 8 HP for the side of Sona.
Yeah, wow, that might have been just like 1 or 2 HP by the time that it was clicked on. That was just so unbelievably close. And that's plates over to the bot lane. We see Ornn just taking plates in the top lane, and it really is shaping up to be a very one-sided affair in this first game, but it's not.
Oh, we're looking for a dive. Here's the Ornn Horn going to be used in the top lane. Vlad's going to pool. Hopefully going to buy him some time. The E going to be used as well. Turret is going to go down. Vladimir is as good as dead. Graves with another kill. Killing spree.
Yeah, and this Herald pickup right into the dive is exactly what needs to happen. I'll note that the Vladimir did not use his get out of jail free button for that crowd control. He was just a little bit late that pool that he can use to make himself invulnerable. But one thing that I was mentioning earlier, the farm lead in every single one of these lanes with the exception of mid lane is just about insurmountable. 40 in the top lane, nearly 40 in the jungle, 50 in the bot lane. That is, I mean, equivalent to a few thousand gold just given to these players because they're able to land their last hits.
Yeah, that's a great point. And when we look at the only player who is actually able to not only keep up, but also beat out their lane opponent, it's the player who is summoner level 150 with the most experience, right? So Violet in the mid lane is able to kind of hold their own weight in this match, and double kill.
The bot lane. Vex is going to go down, and now Sona is as good as dead to Kaisa. Potentially the exhaust going to be used onto the Rakan. Unfortunately, not the target you'd want to use it on, and there's going to be another 2 kills for Springfield.
Yeah. 8,000 total gold lead here. Probably another kill into the Vladimir. He does have flash. Maybe he can get out. Oh, what a flash.
Yeah.
And it's just... It's not looking too pretty in game 1. I think that you gotta hope that either somebody on the team or somebody outside of the team is going to step up after game 1 and say, look, guys, like the composition that we drafted is just not going to cut it. I think it's a really hard conversation to have, but you are not going to win a ton of games when you draft like this. Just pure comfort, kind of just ignoring like the established meta.
It's important to have comfort, and the meta doesn't matter too much. When you look into your comfort champions and the champion pool of your comfort should still be able to encompass a good amount of play styles, and in this case, it doesn't.
Yeah, that's a great point.
One thing that I'm going to mention, if you will look into the inventory of Tootle, what do you see?
Wow.
Yeah, there it is. Force of nature. That man is not going to take damage for the rest of the game.
You love to see that for Springfield, honestly. Like, even if this was always really going to be a very one-sided game, just the game knowledge that these players have really displayed in this game. You know, we had Farai going for the level 1 invade, realizing that if he plays for that invade against an inexperienced jungler, it's going to be really good. The MR rush, as well as the Bramble Vest rush from Ornn, making this lane hard for Vladimir to actually play out. Like, the roams from Failure Man. Honestly, across the board, players of Springfield have impressed me, regardless of who their opponents are.
I agree.
Unengaged going to be down onto Vladimir. Potentially some abilities being used. Ornn Horn is already down. Lilia going to have to retreat off of her Krugs. Horeo is going to continue on and try to catch up, but the Ghost is going to be popped for Vladimir as there's Nimbus Cloak as well. Looks like Springfield is going to disengage here. Potentially just let him back. Nope. No. Farai is out for blood. Will he be able to find him? It looks like he will. Q is going to be used. Not going to connect. Prominence is just as good as dead here, unfortunately. He's going to be 1v3ing in the top lane. Ultimate going to be used, E down as well. And that collector is going to be proving useful.
This is becoming a bit of a slaughter as we expected. And I have to say that I cannot blame Farai for knowing exactly what his matchup is going to be to an inexperienced jungler. I would not be surprised if he did exactly this again next game.
Yeah, because after game 1, the likelihood that there is going to be a massive adaptation from Lakes is pretty small in my opinion. So if you draft an aggressive early game jungler and you play the exact same way, the onus is on Lakes to make the change, right? As long as Springfield does the same exact thing, I don't see a world where it plays out much different.
And I think it does come down to the choice in draft for the next game for Lakes.
Oh, ultimate going to be used
double
down
taunt.
In the middle of the double taunt, double knockup, double charm. Oh, great.
Double
It's going
kill.
to be taking both. Yeah, double kill. Another flash from Lilia. Excellent flash, but unfortunately it's not going to be enough, and Springfield is just going to be stomping all over Lakes.
Drake number 3 being picked up as a Cloud Soul on the Rift. And do you want to know who really makes a lot of use out of Cloud Soul? Every single champion on Springfield's team. This is going to only get worse. It is a 12,000 gold lead just about by 18 minutes. You don't have to be a math teacher to recognize that this is a little insurmountable.
Yeah, you certainly don't have to be. And with Baron coming up in a minute and a half, honestly, closing out this game just seems like a formality at this point, right? You reset, you spend your gold, you buy your items, set up some vision around the Baron, which Springfield has been on top of all game, and you really just look to close it out ASAP, right? And there's no world in which Lakes can try and team fight the Baron. They're just too far behind in gold, and their composition has just gotten too outscaled at this point that in a minute's time, I fully expect Springfield to set up around this Baron, and I don't even think they need Dragon Soul to win this game at all. Like, I think the game should probably be closed by then, but they have been playing quite safe so far, so there is a world where I could see them waiting 4 or 5 minutes, getting that Soul, and then playing to end the game.
Oh, flash going to be used from Vex. A crit almost takes her down, but it's not going to be quite enough. But as we say that, Sona is going to be out of position and be taken down. Horn going to be used in the top lane as well. Vladimir going to be run down, potentially. E going to be used. Not going to quite find anybody. Ooh. And it's at this point just going to be... Oh, yeah, here we go. Phase Rush going to be procced for Prominence, though, and Prominence going to get out of there just fine.
And you'll notice, if you look at the amount of damage that Toodles took in that fight, it was maybe 300.
Oh, no. Fembun is going to be in quite a bit of trouble. She's going to find a little bit more than just the Krugs in her jungle, unfortunately.
It is becoming exactly as one anticipated. Failure Man on the Galio picked up his Mythic and a pair of Mercury Treads. If I could see the gold, it'd be wonderful. There is a lot of gold sitting in the inventory of at least the 80 carry. If you look at just the amount of gold difference between the 80 carry position players, Small has double that which Feral Raccoon has. It is a Vex that is equivalent to a caster minion and a Kaisa that is fed beyond all belief.
I would love to see a Baron.
Here we go, Violet!
Oh my goodness.
The execute not enough. And now
that would have been crazy.
For the terrible act of trying to steal the Baron, Springfield punishes Lakes and makes it known that the Rift is entirely theirs. The vision control is on the map enough to the point where Springfield knows exactly where Feral Raccoon is. Feral Raccoon is now going back to the fountain.
Yeah, Ornhorn's up in 20 seconds. Baron buff activated. If it's not on this wave, then on next wave. Just a complete dive, engage, and the game for Springfield. They're so far ahead, and here it is.
Oh, what a huge ultimate, though, from the side of Lakes, but it's not going to be quite enough. The Seraphine ult does hit 3. It doesn't quite... Yeah, 4. Yeah, doesn't quite do what they need to do here. And unfortunately, as you mentioned, it's just going to be a formality, potentially knocking on Death's door here.
I can tell you with certainty that that was Lake's best possible fight case ever. And you saw exactly how it panned out. Another death.
They're taking their sweet time. Dragon Soul up in a little over a minute, minute and a half. And they're going to reset, spend all that money that was sitting in their inventory.
Springfield recognizes that they have a wallet that weighs a good 20 pounds, and they are just smacking Lake across the face with it over and over and over again. They will not be punished. They will not be taken down. There is no coming back in this game, save for an absolute miracle, or for whatever reason, someone on Springfield deciding to no longer play the game and sit in base. And then, it has to be 2 members of Springfield choosing to not play the game and sit in base for there to be any kind of chance for Lake to come back in this case. They're running it down mid. They know exactly how this is going to go. The no Mythic Warren, by the way.
Oh, Kaisa just going to use her ultimate, and Vex going to try to follow up with her own combo, but it's not going to be quite enough as they knock down the Nexus of Lake. Springfield is showing some dominance here in game 1. Of course, part of that is going to be the draft. As I mentioned, Ornn going to be using his Ornn Horn. Vladimir going to get knocked up in almost one shot. It is just not looking great for Violet and the Lake side, and they are going to knock on that Nexus. That's going to be it.
Yeah, and complete domination in game 1 from start to finish. The one kill that was secured by Lakes was on a quite lucky trade kill in the mid lane, a slight overstep from Failure Man. Besides that, actually a perfect game. I guess there was one bot turret taken, but besides that, I mean, it just as clean of a game as you could ever hope for.
Well, we're down for game 1. Hopefully we'll see some adaptations game 2. We'll talk about it very soon in their draft. But before that, we're going to go to a quick break. When we're right back, game 2, Springfield versus Lakes. Don't go away. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Illinois High School Esports Association League of Legends season. My name is Andy Mendez, again joined here by Dylan, MLBD, and Coach Nyberger. We are already well into Game 2 draft. Boys, go ahead and shake this out for me.
We've already got the vibe ban. It's happening again. Poor.
Yeah.
There's no respite. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lily was banned to pinch it even further. It's going to be a very, very similar draft. I can feel it.
Yeah, this looks like pretty much the same bans as we've got last time. It's probably going to unfold in a very similar way. The sides did swap, so I like the Graves ban. Good adaptation. Farai clearly was able to dominate the jungle on that Graves pick. Has other picks to do the same with, but good to get Graves out of there, especially if you want to pick Leah. It's a tough matchup.
The Graves gone, the Lux gone, the Ahri gone. They're really trying to pinch Violet's pool because those are the two champions that Violet is most comfortable on. They've decided we are not going full AP this game. Here's a Twitch.
Very good. I like this adaptation as well. The Twitch was not banned, left up on the table. Lake's going to go ahead and pick it up round 1.
And so now it's the adaptation from Springfield, should they want one. The Rakan taken again. They liked it last time, but maybe they like it this time. The Ornn as well. A solid blind pick into perhaps a top laner that they know isn't going to pick anything that'll counter it.
Wow. Okay. They are really throwing a curveball at us this game.
Cho'Gath locked in. That does do quite well into the Ornn. Again, that is a pretty rock'em sock'em beat 'em up matchup. But it can be one that will go in the way of Ornn and
okay.
I'm a little bit less enthusiastic now.
I was with it at the beginning of that draft. They had me in the first half, not gonna lie.
And the Nasus locked in.
Yeah.
Is this a Cho'Gath mid? Is this a Cho'Gath in the jungle? Is this God forbid a Nasus support?
Oh yeah, I've seen it happen. We've all seen it. I think.
I'll tell you now. You know what doesn't lose to Nasus support? A Rakan.
True.
Springfield just running back exactly what they did in game 1. And
Seraphine and the Lilia, they are pinching. Is what they're doing. This Cho'Gath has to be going mid or has to be going jungle if they're not expecting Violet or Fembun to be entirely off their comfort picks. The Lilia is left open, allowing Fembun to pick that up if Fembun is not actively on this Cho'Gath, Nasus, or Twitch.
I was about to say, so it looked like Springfield wanted to run that draft back. Unfortunately, they won't be able to pick up Galio similarly. So we'll see what their mid laner is going to have to play. It's not going to be Galio. We can say
it won't be Galio.
Yeah.
I think the assumption has to be that they're into the Cho'Gath. And you know what works really, really well into Cho'Gath?
Yeah, Silas is going to be the answer for sure.
Which is a pretty spectacular answer, which also forces off of comfort. I don't think Nico is a good choice into Silas.
Yeah, that's kind of... This is crazy because... Scrolling through their profiles, they have never played any of these champions besides Twitch. So I'm very curious to see whether or not this is something they have really any practice on, or if they're kind of just throwing something at the wall and seeing what sticks. They do still pick up the Sona support.
Okay.
This does look to be a Cho'Gath jungle.
Yeah, it really does, right? Nasus jungle, not a great option. Twitch jungle, I mean, you could do it, but it's not. It's going in the AD carry's hand. Probably Cho'Gath.
I'm looking at this graph. I'll say that I don't dislike the Nasus.
Yeah, I don't dislike it in the sense that, if you're comfortable on it, it's not necessarily something bad to pick up. It scales well, right, in this elo for sure. I think banning the Graves was a smart play. I think picking up Viego, though, Viego Silas, these are going to be some Viego Silas, Kaisa even. Very, very much a hyper carry. If they're going to get 1 or 2 kills in the early game, this game's going to be as good as done, especially with Viego.
Yeah, and when you look over at the side of Lakes, assuming it's lane Nasus, very easy to gank that. If it's lane Cho'Gath, very easy to gank that. Twitch, Sona, bot lane, immobile. Nico can be tough to gank, but the Viego has great setup in his lanes and can easily just run between lanes and just chain kill people, kind of similar to how we started doing in the mid game of game 1. But I think he can get started even earlier this game.
I see much more hope in the draft of Lakes this time. Much, much more. No longer is this a game that was lost in draft, but instead it's a game that will require Springfield to use their brain cells to recognize exactly what their win condition is and exactly what Lake's win condition is, that win condition at the moment being Nasus. I think if that Nasus does get large enough, it will end the game because although Kaisa is strong, having a Nico and a Nasus and a Cho'Gath is a little bit larger. I like this draft substantially more than last game's draft. That being said, you couldn't really do much worse than last game's draft.
Oh, okay.
It's just fun hovers, I guess.
You know, I did tell them last game to do that because they had done the draft already. But you know what? Maybe they're just they don't know that we know.
They're picking it up a little late. Yeah. The Cho'Gath thrown into the top lane, which tells to me that this Nasus is going to be in the jungle, and I do know a good amount about Nasus jungle. The issue, he scales very, very, very well in the jungle because he's getting stacks off of all of those camps. That being said, he's not going to be ganking ever. There will be no pressure from this Nasus. There will be no presence from this Nasus from any point into the game until we get to mid-game and the Nasus decides to emerge finally from the jungle, buff and ready to start slamming into enemy teams. But into the enemy team here, this person who's now on Viego instead of Graves, it's going to get counter-jungled.
I you know what? If Viego does not somehow punish Nasus, though, and we get into maybe 30 minutes in the game somehow, I think Nasus could be a real threat. I mean, Nasus jungle obviously is not ideal, but you do get additional stacks for the large monsters, and it stacks pretty. It stacks better than you think.
I'll tell you from experience, it does stack better than laning Nasus, assuming your laning Nasus isn't perfect.
Sure, right.
It does. I've played a very large amount of that champion. The jungle Nasus stacks incredibly well, but you're sacrificing the ability to have presence in your lanes for that. And that has to be a decision that Fembun and the team has to make together. And I think either decision that's being made is a poor one, depending on how well and how much pressure this Viego exerts.
The thing I'm worried about is I don't see a world in which Viego has to do really anything different compared to what they did game one. It is harder to solo start in the enemy jungle as Viego compared to Graves. You can easily just tell your top lane or your bot lane, hey, let's walk into this guy's jungle and mess up his day, right? And Nasus level 1 is just awful in that kind of a fight, right? Especially with Kaisa recovering and Silas potentially being there. So I would love to see Springfield go for something like that. I do think that their composition lends itself towards that early action, and you can really shut the Nasus down if you can put him behind like that. So we'll have to see if they recognize that and if they also want to go for that. If they give Nasus the opportunity to start farming his jungle, get some stacks under his belt, well, then I think we might have a game on our hands.
Here's another kind of point that we talked about previously in our last game, is that who was the at least highest performing on Lakes, right? It was Violet. Violet was playing Seraphine, at least, farming well, did pick up probably the only kill of the game, I believe.
It was the only kill of the game.
Right. So now Violet on something that's a little bit less supportive, potentially Nico that can roam about the lanes, maybe even assist Nasus in the jungle if Viego is going to be, hyper invading or even coming up top lane and making some of those plays. Perhaps we'll see a world where Nico gets ahead, and it'll be hard for Springfield's composition to shut down that Nico, especially if for some reason it gets very, very much ahead against the Silas in the early game. If it's going to be anybody, it's going to be mid lane.
Yeah, it has to be. I agree. Maybe we'll see a Twitch pop off. Feral Raccoon. This is the one ADC that they. I hesitate to call them a one trick just because they don't have games in total this game, but they definitely have the most experience on Twitch. So if they are able to kind of recognize that comfort and call for what they need and have a decent laning phase like they did last time, right? It wasn't really until like 10 or 15 minutes that they started really, really losing bot lane besides just farm. There is a world where Feral Raccoon can have a bounce back game too.
I agree. Again, Feral Raccoon, again, as you mentioned, on a comfort pick. Right? Comfort picks are important. Got banned out last game. And good to see some AD in the composition as well. They can't just stack, or they can't just get away with stacking up
with getting the first item, Force of Nature.
Yeah, and you know what, the other nice thing too is that the Cho'Gath has a little bit of an answer to just purely stacking MR. I mean, you've got a little bit of true damage in that kit. If for some reason Ornn gets down pretty low from early game trading, or I just I don't necessarily see the world where Cho'Gath pokes out Ornn, but in the event that they do, Cho'Gath would be a lot better poised to do something in that lane than just playing Vladimir.
It's going to be a bit of a more, hopefully a less one-sided game than the last one, simply based on this champ select showing genuine signs of life from Lakes. That being said, looking at Springfield's draft, oh boy, is that a team fight comp. If they survive to the 20-minute mark, I'm having difficulty seeing, without spectacular positioning, the Ornn, Silas, Kaisa, Rakan really being stopped. Of course, anything can happen. That Nasus can get huge, that Cho'Gath can have a really nice flank, and Twitch always has that ability to get in a position where he cannot be attacked. It's going to be an interesting match, nonetheless.
I will say, as a Silas enthusiast, he has some pretty great ults this game. He has Cho'Gath ult, he has Nico ult, Sona ult's pretty good, Nasus ult in some situations. I mean, Twitch ult is like awful. He should never steal that, but he has 3, I'm going to call it 3.5, like really good ults that he can grab in any team fight that can really...
That will turn the tides.
Exactly. And I especially that Nico ult, right? Nico ult combined with Ornn coming over the top and Rakan, like we could see some wombo combos for sure happening in this game, and I'm looking forward to seeing if Springfield can really pull off that level of coordination.
I have to agree. 8 more seconds till we're back into game. And very excited to see game number 2, Springfield versus Lakes. Who's going to take it? Here we go.
My money's on Springfield. Just kind of based off game 1.
No. You never know.
Maybe a little bit.
It's an even Steven. Who knows?
50-50. We don't know who wins. They either win or they lose.
That's how 50-50 how probability works.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious, lads. It is lethal tempo Nasus.
Wow.
I wonder if that was a mistake or if this Nasus is really going to be going crazy.
Hey, the extra attack range on his Q is going to go really crazy.
You pair that with a rapid fire cannon, and suddenly that Kane's reaching pretty far.
There it is. Zoom in on the man himself, Nasus Fembun, looking to have a bounce back carry performance. And the thing I'm really looking for in this game 1 is what is the jungle looking like?
I'm watching Farai.
Is he really going to just walk in and start blue buff?
Well, why wouldn't he if he's not going to get punished for it?
That's so funny.
This is exactly what you do when you know that the enemy jungler isn't going to check. They didn't check this game or last game. There's no reason not to check this game. One thing that I'll mention, Farai's ward, I believe, was incorrect. I believe that should have been placed over on the other side of that wall for the sake of seeing something coming. I recognize it was there for the face check, but God forbid you face check a Nasus at level 1. It's like, okay, well, now I get to bop him a little bit, and then he has to walk away because he has lethal tempo instead of anything useful.
So I will say, as a potential lesson for any Lakes members that rewatch this stream, this is why you 5-point. So this is why you have somebody stand at every entrance to your jungle, so that this doesn't happen, or if it is going to happen, it's happening, right? Because right now, it's going to be exactly the same thing, where Fembun is taking their red, they're going to take their bot side camps, this time a lot slower, because it's Nasus compared to Lilia. They're going to walk up, and there's going to be nothing there. And it's just a disastrous way to start your game.
I will say there was a little bit of potential there for Twitch to take that red buff.
I saw that too.
I was very scared. Went down to 15 HP.
That would have just been, all right, we're opening mid. We're going to the next game. Well, I guess there's no next game in this case.
There's the Gromp being taken by Farai.
Yeah, take the Wolves too.
And now this is a little risky because Fembun is coming up. There's no smite available for Farai. Farai's gonna have to drag this out a little bit because Fembun is finishing up those Raptors without a siphoning strike for whatever reason.
Oh, is he going Krugs or is he going enemy blue? I think he's going Krugs. So I will say this is automatically an improvement from game one, where instead of like just kind of not taking the Krugs, they end up taking the Krugs this game. So that's good. Puts them in a spot where they could take bottom after this. I really hope Fembun just kind of realizes it's gone, just kind of and then goes towards Scuttle Crab, because then you can have an early game still. If they walk towards their top side and see nothing, the early game is just...
Now, one thing that I'm going to mention is that as of right now, Fembun has 9 stacks. Fembun did take the entirety of the red and all of the Raptors. If the Q is being used correctly, there should be around 24 stacks on that Nasus right now. And so we mentioned that Fembun has never played this champion, in addition to many other players on Lakes not having experience on a lot of these champions, with the exception of bot lane. It's showing very clearly that perhaps this Nasus is not comfortable. Perhaps, I mean, it's a very real possibility as somebody who's a coach, that this player did not read the abilities of their champion before picking them right at the beginning of the game. Which, especially as Nasus, is an extreme detriment.
So now it kind of comes down to, okay, how do you respond, right? The game one response was not what we were hoping for. The camps are all down for Fembun. And one thing that I see a lot of rookie, inexperienced junglers struggle with is very, very to try and punish and get camps back response. Fembun has not walked into the enemy jungle once this series, and they're going to find Farai here.
Yeah, Farai is going to be engaging onto Fembun. This might be an early kill. It's going to be quicker than the rest of the game. The Q is going to be used. Siphoning Strike is not going to be enough. And Viego going to take down Nasus with the help of Silas, Failure Man, with the first blood.
Off to a rough start.
Very rough start if you look at the scoreboard. Farai with twice as much farm as this Nasus, who we had to praise with the idea that this Nasus was going to be farming, and that was one of the win conditions.
Maybe a kill.
It's going to be 1 HP. W going to be used. Ignite is going to tick down.
Flash
should not be a kill. Yeah.
Super close in the bot lane. Going to be able to crash that wave and maybe look to dive the Twitch. I mean, you're full HP on Kai'Sa and Rakan. Twitch does still have heals, so they're probably not going to look for anything like that. Maybe just get a base off here. Try and get some long swords in Kai'Sa's inventory, but top lane pretty even so far. I will say that. Prominence holding his own in this lane is Cho'Gath for Zorn. CS is exactly even. Mid lane, Violet, the most experienced player on this roster. CS is even. I mean, not what you want to see in range versus melee matchups, but it's acceptable, right? You can work with that. It really does just kind of come down to what's looking like a little bit of a bot diff, and also just jungle inexperience too.
I think this game is panning out exactly as Springfield wants it to. Already 1,500 ahead from both that kill and some farm leads gathered, mostly in the jungle. Farm leads in all lanes right now. Nothing substantial enough as that in the jungle. But again, this Nasus is going to be what might make or break this game. But as of right now, it's not looking like that. The first Drake being taken off the map again. Springfield with supreme knowledge of lane states and where Fembun is, and Fembun is nowhere to contest this, neither are anybody else on the roster of Springfield, or Lakes, rather.
Are they... Okay. Failure Man, interesting roam. Really all he gets out of that is stealing the Cho'Gath ult. He's going to miss quite a bit in the mid lane. He's already missed probably half a wave. If Nico can get that wave shoved in, he's going to end up missing the whole thing. And, one thing that, just kind of an overall point that I want to praise Springfield for, is their prioritization of objectives has been really in the series. And I don't have too much experience watching the high school level of League of Legends, but I can say playing and watching the college level, which is, in a lot of cases much higher than high school, maybe just divisions. It really does favor teams that start the early stacks on dragons, because games can really be decided by whoever can get close to that soul and force team fights and be on the advantage foot. So the fact that they're able to recognize when mid and bot have shove, when can they go get dragon, they've taken it at 5 or 6 minutes in both games. That's just really, really good macro and game knowledge. And hello, Sona.
Looks like they're not going to notice. One thing that I do want to mention, Sylas taking Cho'Gath ulti, that is worth roam, and missing a few minions, if I'm being entirely honest. You do gain that permanent health stacking from that ability.
Well, if he uses it.
If he uses it, and in this case,
chomp a minion.
Time out.
Oh no! Because you could just chomp a minion for that, right? For the first few stacks.
First 6, which honestly, if you're playing Sylas into Cho'Gath, you're really not going to have more than 6 opportunities to grab that.
So a little bit of a fumble there from Failure Man, not using that ultimate. In the grand scheme of things, it won't matter most likely in this game, but it's something where you want to make sure you're following all the steps for that when you do play a stronger opponent, you have it.
Their engage going to be used. Flash and heal, both sums down for Twitch. Close one.
Very close.
Grand entrance was used, did land as well.
Rakan has his ultimate. They could look for a dive on this stacked wave. Fembun is there, kind of hovering for a cover. Might show themselves, though. It's going to be interesting. Okay, just backing off from the side of Springfield, recognizing that threat could be there. And, Fembun has managed to pick up a good amount of for themselves, but when you... Farai is just so efficient. In both these games, just playing very well with his path, decision-making, and has the most farm in the game almost.
Okay, there's the Nico ultimate going to be used, potentially. I would like to see Sylas be a little bit more conscious about when he's going to be grabbing these ultimates. I don't see the world where they contest the dragon in a minute and a half and have this up for that. I would want, ideally, you'd kind of wait until you're going to look to, go on an objective, have that pressure, almost having the ability itself is more of a threat than using it, early, right? So being a little bit more cautious, I think, on Failure Man's part when grabbing ultimates and where. But overall, not too bad.
Farm leads slowly increasing. Fembun and Farai still at a factor of 2 between them. That jungle matchup really being a slaughter, and it's looking very, very similar in the bot lane. Feral Raccoon looking for some sort of
grand
engage.
Entrance going to be used. Ultimates on both sides.
Without a support with him.
Yeah, that's really rough. Walking up like that, Sona was over the wall, not really there to support you, and Horn ult in the top lane, just poking him down, really applying the pressure. I believe has demolished, so that's why he's been able to get that plate, and he might look for some more, but doesn't really want to walk up. He's got the Bomby Cinder, so if you catch yourself under the turret at the wrong time, there is a world where Cho'Gath could try to look for something under that turret.
I know we were mentioning a little bit about Sylas using the Cho'Gath ult and kind of using it for stacks there. Unfortunately, Cho'Gath himself has not used any of his ultimate stacks either on these minions.
That's a great point. And, from looking at these players, OP.GG's, one thing we were talking about in Champion Select is that outside of Twitch and maybe Sona, I don't think the players on Lakes really have much experience on these champions. So there is a very real world, like you were saying earlier, Nyberger, like, maybe they don't quite know what their kits do fully. Like, they don't know how to take advantage of it to the full effect. With NASA stacks, with Cho'Gath stacks, like, all of these things are very important to understand, but, when you're new and you don't quite have that experience, it can be tough to really get the full potential out of your champion.
And I agree. A few things that I'm noticing. This Viego with the, oh lord, Kraken Slayer, that is a very, very strong build. That being said, it's a double-edged sword. That Viego is going to die very, very quickly.
Oh, Grand Entrance is going to land onto Twitch, and now Viego coming from behind, not expecting him to be there, and it's going to take him down. That's going to be putting Viego on the board.
Kraken Slayer on that Viego again, showing up. A lot of damage being made. A fight, perhaps. A
solo kill.
Potentially, the flash could be used from Turtle, and it's not going to find him.
Flash
Close one there.
Flash. However, another thing that I want to mention is that our support, Just Frams, on Lake's side, elected to purchase a sweeper without a completed support item. The idea on support is that you have the ability to put down a large amount of vision. Oh.
The poison!
Might be.
It's AD Twitch, he does no damage. Oh, Viego finds Fembon in the jungle. This is not looking good for him. Close.
Oh. You know, if Fembon does hit the blast cone there, I think he probably lives.
I think so as well.
And Farai put himself in position such that he was able to... The Wither coming down.
Ooh, close play, Farai. Close
electing to leave.
Fram has ultimate. Could maybe look for the trade kill onto Viego.
No longer has ultimate.
Yeah, that's looking rough, and it's kind of what you expect out of a series like this, right? Just dominance from Springfield, really establishing themselves as a solid team to look forward to. You know, I'm excited to see how the rest of their regular season pans out after a really strong Week 1 performance. It's tough with games like this to know how much of it is on Springfield playing well and how much of it is on Lakes just not really having that coordination as a team yet. Only time will tell.
Oh, yep. Brand entrance going to be used, and Farai is going to be on a killing spree, as you were mentioning that. Ultimate going to be used onto Feral Raccoon. Raccoon going to use his heal and potentially live to see another day. As we were kind of discussing, though, Silas did get that solo kill onto Nico. A very clean use of his kit there.
One thing that I've noticed.
Go right ahead.
As ironic as it is...
Oh, there's going to be the chomp. Yep. Counter chomp, if you will. Dive onto the top laner.
I feel as though Farai has made more use of the Wither than Fembun has.
I think you might be right. I've seen him use 2 or 3 withers that have been pretty solid.
And that's a very unfortunate happenstance. But again, I think that does come down to knowledge of the champion. And in this case, it seems as though Farai knows Fembun's champion better than Fembun knows.
Ooh, Sona just took that cannon minion. I would be a little upset if I was Feral Raccoon, just a little bit, but. You know, I think at this point in the game, you kind of just you play it out, try and keep morale high, try and keep spirits high. You know, there's always an entire regular season. The league is formatted like this so that you have an opportunity to, gain more experience as a team.
All right, as we're saying that, yep. Horn going to be used. That one going to go down, as well as Silas going to be solo killing Sona down in the bot lane. And now... Top lane's looking pretty rough. I believe there's a Herald up to be used for Farai. Potentially they're going to be using it here, unless this is going to be another fight. Violet going to try to land any snare as possible. Not going to go. Herald going to be used, though. This turret is as good as dead, potentially.
And if Violet and Prominence don't use their knowledge correctly, this could be a second charge.
Ooh, Fembon manages to get out.
Herald's still alive. Herald. No, they're electing to leave it be. I personally feel like I disagree with that. They definitely could have had that charge in for a second charge on an inhibitor turret, which wouldn't regen past 1/3 max health.
I think typically, yeah, you wouldn't look for that, but I think in this scenario, you're pretty safe to look for those greedier plays.
And we are, as a repeat of last game, we are 12,000 gold ahead at 16 minutes. That is eerily close to the idea.
Not quite.
Mr. Recall.
Almost.
That is eerily close to the dreaded losing 1,000 gold a minute mark for Lakes.
Yeah, a bit of a speed run here for Springfield. They are playing this game very well. That was the second Herald, so will not have an opportunity to secure that again to try and push even further. So it's probably going to be very similar to the last game, right? You pick up this third Drake, you go towards Baron, get the Baron, look to crack up in the base, get Dragon Soul, and the game. Like, they kind of have been following that formula this whole series, and if it works, right? It's a solid game plan, a stable game plan that when you are the better team is going to work out most of the time. So here they are getting the Drake, and they've got a couple minutes before they need to worry about the Baron, so they can try and get a couple of turrets, maybe a fight down to the bot lane.
Yep, here it goes. That's one is going to go down. Nass is going to burn this flash, but unfortunately going to die as well. Feral Raccoon down to 10 HP. What are they going to be able to do? The E on Silas is going to land and going to continue on forward. That's all they're going to find.
Yeah, those 2 kills probably mean tier 2 bot lane turret if they want to push for it. See.
A lot of this is coming from a lack of macro play. I don't know how much vision is being put down on the side of Lakes, but this is unfortunately shaping up to look like a perfect game as of right now. No towers being taken, no kills given from the side of Springfield. That would be a less than ideal season beginning.
Oh.
But Toodle,
as you mentioned that, Toodle might be chasing that, and there it is. Cho'Gath with the chomp. 500 gold bounty. Lake's on the board.
Somebody, perhaps.
Yeah, you did. Failure Man potentially looking for some revenge, or be making the same mistake that his teammate did. Fembot's going to be walking straight into the bush, and Failure Man's going to be eating away. Oh, Raccoon going to use his ultimate. Both of them are going to whiff their spells and just kind of handshake and walk away.
Yeah, I mean, the Silas at this point is just completely unchecked, right? You've managed to max out your W, and you have the stopwatch. You have great ultimates to steal, and there's no heal, no anything, because they just can't afford this, right? You can't afford Oblivion, or because with the little gold you have, you need to focus on trying to get your mythic. You need to focus on trying to get your spike, and here it is.
Yeah, there it is. The Sona ultimate going to be used, and it's not going to be enough to save Nasus. Nasus is going to go down. Grand Entrance is going to be used, and the ultimate as well from Rakan. Double kill for Kaisa. And now they're pinging towards the Baron. I mean, they could very much just end the game here. I don't think they necessarily need the Baron.
I don't think so either. But they have been playing a very formulaic, macro-focused series, so even if they can end sooner, I think they're just gearing up to go take the Baron and then final.
15,000 gold ahead at this point in time, 20 minutes. They're taking the Baron on spawn. They're looking for that immediate power spike to allow them to shove these waves in. There is a marginal amount of wave clear on the side of Lakes, and they're looking to nullify it entirely.
It's rough when the difference in gold and junglers is about double. Just right before that, so that's going to be rough.
With the taking of that blue buff, very nearly has Farai flame horizoned this poor Nasus. Can we see how many stacks are on the Nasus?
Yeah, so as soon as we get finished watching, Farai just gonna be taking down Cho'Gath there. Yeah, that is going to just be the case. Oh, Fembun is going to be going down. 54 stacks on Fembun, but not going to be saving him from the Failure Man.
An unfortunate set of circumstances faced by the team from Lakes. A 5-0 full attack damage Viego, a 6-0 Silas, a 6-0 Kaisa, each of them with 2 items, only compared to the 1 items of every other player on Lakes, not even including poor Fembun. This is, by all intents and purposes, a slaughter.
Oh, rat-a-tat-tat. Going to be used. Not going to find anybody. Kaisa's going to take down one. A huge ultimate from Failure Man is going to land on the Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath's going to go down as well. Nasus, unfortunately, just not having a great game.
One thing
and yeah, Springfield Capitals are going to take game 2. First regular season game of the IHSEA. Lakes have got to go back to the drawing board, but they will have a great season ahead of them nonetheless. Oh, huge ultimate going to be used in the base as well. And that's another kill on the board for Lakes. Kind of the silver lining there at the end of the game. Yep.
A series
that'll
for sure.
One of the series of all time.
One of these series of all time. It certainly happened.
Well, thank you everyone for watching today. We really appreciate your support, and of course to Coach Nyberger, Dylan, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. What do you say, guys? Same time next week?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Without a doubt.
I'm looking forward to another set of perfect games almost.
Very good. Well, and if any of the teams are watching here, or any parents or anyone interested in League of Legends, today is the World Championship for League of Legends professional scene. Actually, it's going to be T1 versus DRX, two teams hailing from Korea. I believe the games start at what time? What time do the games start?
7 p.m. Central.
7 p.m. Central. So go ahead and check that out on twitch.tv/LOL Esports or Riot Games or one of those, I believe.
Something like that.
Well, they're not paying us to do this, so I can mess up the ad read, you know what I mean? But it's very interesting nonetheless if you're interested in League of Legends. So that'll be it for us. As Tivo always says, do your homework. Take care. Oh, sheesh. All right. Well, that was easy enough.
Yeah, that was quick.